Hello, I'm Carlton Van Putten, founder and CEO of PayRent. Welcome to the Keys to Success podcast, where we unlock the secrets to smarter investments, smoother tenant management, and bigger profits, one episode at a time. Ready to master your property game? Let's dive in.
Welcome to Keys to Success. Are you ready to unlock some, maybe unexpected wisdom for being a great landlord?
Yeah, because today we're looking at something pretty interesting. You might not immediately connect it, but Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid.
Exactly. It sounds a bit out there, maybe. Landlording and martial arts.
Right. But this really fascinating article came across our desk, shared by our friends over at PayRent, actually, and it draws some surprisingly strong parallels.
It really does. Between Miyagi's, his whole philosophy and what it takes to be a really effective, balanced landlord.
So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to unpack the source material, pull out those key lessons.
Yeah, how can Daniel Sand's whole journey with Miyagi guiding him, how can that help you as a landlord? Help you handle the challenges, find that balance? Let's get into it.
Okay, so first off, the article kind of lays out this main idea.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests that landlording, well, like mastering any skill, really, but especially something like a martial art, it's not just about knowing the moves.
Right. It takes discipline, it takes balance, patience. Huge one, patience.
Yeah, who's a better example of that than Mr. Miyagi, right?
Totally. It's a smart way to frame it, I think, because landlording isn't just like collect the rent check, done.
No, it's an ongoing thing. It's a practice, a system you have to build and, importantly, maintain.
And those quick fixes or getting aggressive, like, the whole no mercy Cobra Kai thing.
Yeah, that usually just blows up in your face, doesn't it? Miyagi's whole deal was about the fundamentals, the principles that build that long-term strength. Resilience.
Okay, so let's dig into the first lesson the article pulls out. It comes from Daniel's, what seemed like pointless chores at first, right? Wax on, wax off.
Oh, yeah, waxing cars, sanding the floor, painting the fence. Seemed endless, tedious.
Totally tedious, but it was building something, wasn't it? That essential muscle memory, discipline.
Exactly. And the parallel for landlords is pretty direct. Consistent, routine maintenance. It feels like those never-ending chores, The property version of waxing Mr. Miyagi's cars, it's easy to just let it slide when things seem okay.
Mm.
But the article really hammers this home, that seemingly boring effort. That's what stops the big, costly problems later on. It's how you build that muscle memory for protecting your asset.
So it's more than just fixing a leaky faucet when the tenant calls.
Mm-hmm.
What does that Miyagi-Do maintenance look like in practice?
It's got to be proactive, disciplined. So the source mentions things like scheduling seasonal inspections, check the gutters before the fall rains, check the HVAC before summer hits. Basic stuff, but scheduled.
Right, plan.
And responding fast, even to small repair requests. Fix that dripping tap now. Don't wait for it to cause water damage or annoy the tenant.
Makes sense.
And this is critical, logging everything, keeping detailed records of all maintenance. It creates a history, shows you're on top of things, and it's vital documentation if issues ever come up. It's that discipline, right?
Yeah.
Documenting your wax on, wax off.
That foundation is key, definitely. Okay, lesson 2, finding your Daniel San. This is about tenant screening.
Yeah, and Mr. Miyagi, he wasn't just looking for some kid who could punch hard, right? He saw something in Daniel. Character, someone teachable.
Someone who could, grow into the philosophy.
Exactly. And this is where landlords can sometimes, miss the mark. It's tempting to just focus on the numbers, credit score, income. Check, check, done.
It's more than that.
The article really stresses this. Like Miyagi choosing Daniel, screening is about finding, integrity, reliability, good communication. You're starting a relationship, potentially a long one, not just a quick deal.
Okay, so you need someone who's going to be a responsible tenant overall, not just someone who looks okay financially right now.
Precisely.
So how do you look for that character piece? What are the clues?
Well, beyond the usual checks, the source highlights verifying references, obviously, but really calling those past landlords. And don't just ask, did they pay rent on time? Ask the killer question. Knowing what you know now, would you rent to them again?
Ooh, that's good. That gets right to it.
Doesn't it? It cuts through the fluff. And also, just pay attention to how they communicate during the whole application process. Are they prompt? Are they clear? Respectful? Do they actually follow your instructions?
Yeah, that probably tells you a lot about how they'll be once they're in.
It often does. It's a signal.
Very insightful. Looking deeper. Okay, so what about when things aren't going smoothly? Lesson 3 tackles conflict. And it contrasts no mercy with the Miyagi-Do way.
Right. Cobra Kai. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, simple, aggressive.
Whereas Miyagi taught patience, calm, using wisdom when facing conflict.
And this is such a powerful idea for landlords because, let's face it, conflicts happen. Late rent, noise issues, lease violations, it's part of the job.
For sure.
An aggressive no-mercy stance might feel good for a second, like you're being tough, but it usually just makes things worse. Creates bad blood, escalates things, maybe even leads to court. Costly.
So Miyagi's way is about balance.
Yes. Firmness, definitely you have a lease, rules matter, but it's tempered with empathy and focusing on actually solving the problem.
Okay, but how do you do that? How do you stick to the lease but still show empathy? Isn't there a risk that they'll just take advantage?
That is the balancing act. The article suggests firmness means being crystal clear about the lease terms and what happens if they're broken. No ambiguity.
Okay.
Empathy means communicating like a human being, listening to their situation, if there is one, and trying to find a structured way forward. It's not about just letting things slide indefinitely.
Right, not being a pushover.
Exactly. It's how you enforce the rules. Have a clear process for violations. Maybe offer a documented payment plan if that seems appropriate and workable for you. Consider professional mediation before jumping to the most extreme measures. It's strategic, calm, not just reacting emotionally.
Strategic calm. I like that. Okay, which leads us to a really tough one, lesson 4. The crane kick of eviction. Your absolute last resort.
Yeah, the crane kick wasn't Daniel's opening move, was it? It was powerful, precise, timed perfectly, and only used when absolutely necessary.
When everything else had failed.
An eviction is exactly that for a landlord. It's a big deal. It's disruptive, it's expensive, emotionally draining. It should only happen after you've tried all the other reasonable options.
Like what? What needs to happen first?
Communication attempts, multiple ones. Setting really clear expectations about what needs to change. Offering those structured solutions we talked about, like payment plans or mediation, if appropriate. Documenting all of it.
So only when all that fails.
Pretty much. When the tenant just proves unwilling or unable to stick to the lease agreement, despite your genuine efforts to resolve things. And when you get to that point, the article is emphatic. This is not the time to wing it. You have to follow your stay and local laws exactly, to the letter. Document every single interaction, every notice, every attempt to communicate. And honestly, work with an attorney, especially if it's complex or you're unsure. Like that crane kick, it needs precision. One wrong step can invalidate the whole thing.
Staying calm and precise under pressure. That requires focus, which is lesson 5. Focus, Daniel-san. Remember how Daniel would lose it under pressure and Miyagi had to keep reminding him, center yourself, focus.
Yep. And landlords face constant pressures, don't they? The market changes, maybe rent caps come in, you get unexpected vacancies, tricky tenant situations. It's easy to get overwhelmed or distracted.
And losing focus can lead to mistakes.
Big time. Missed deadlines for notices, forgetting inspections, making impulsive decisions out of frustration. Staying centered, staying focused keeps you sharp, it keeps you organized, and crucially, it keeps you compliant with all the rules.
So how do you maintain that focus with all the chaos that can happen? Are there tools that help?
Yeah, the article points to tools that provide structure. Organization is key for focus. Things like rent collection apps, Parent or Buildium were mentioned. They automate things, reduce errors, keep finances clear.
Okay, using tech?
Right. And task management tools, maybe like Trello or Asana, something to track maintenance, inspections, lease renewals so nothing slips through the cracks. Even just simple calendar reminders are vital. And maybe the most important focus, staying disciplined about educating yourself, keeping up with housing laws, local ordinances. That stuff changes. You can't afford to lose focus on compliance. Don't let frustration make you sloppy or impulsive.
Discipline, systems, staying informed. Yeah, that sounds like a solid way to stay centered.
Okay.
Okay, lesson 6 moves towards relationships. The bonsai tree approach, cultivating tenant relationships.
Ah, the bonsai tree is such a great symbol for Miyagi, right? Patience, care, long-term attention.
Yeah, they require careful nurturing.
And the article uses this as a metaphor for the landlord-tenant relationship. It's not just a contract. It's something you, ideally, cultivate over time with patience and care.
Why is that so important?
Because healthy relationships generally lead to better outcomes. Longer tenancies, which means less turnover cost and hassle for you. Better communication tenants who feel respected are more likely to tell you about a small leak before it becomes a big flood.
Right. They're more likely to take care of the place too, probably.
Often, yes. It fosters a sense of mutual respect and responsibility.
So how do you apply that bonsai care, practically?
It's often the simple things. Respond promptly and respectfully to their requests or concerns. Communicate lease terms clearly right from the start. Manage expectations gently. And the article had a nice touch. Maybe acknowledge lease renewals, a small gesture, a thank you note. It just recognizes their value, reinforces that positive relationship. It shows you see them as more than just a rent check.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, Daniel didn't figure all this out alone, did he? He had Miyagi. Lesson 7 is about that. Learning the ropes. Find your own Mr. Miyagi.
So crucial. Nobody should have to learn landlording entirely through trial and expensive error. Finding experienced guidance, a mentor figure, is invaluable.
Especially when you're just starting out.
Or even when you face a new situation you haven't dealt with before. Someone who's been there, done that, can offer perspective, practical tips, maybe save you a huge headache.
Okay, so where do you find this landlord guru, your personal Mr. Miyagi?
Well, the source suggests looking both locally and online. Join local landlord associations. They're often treasure troves of experience. Go to real estate investor meetups in your area.
Networking.
Exactly. And online, connect with experienced property managers. The article mentions places like Reddit forums, landlords specifically, or dedicated Facebook groups. There's a ton of collective wisdom out there.
Soaking up knowledge from others.
Yeah, even just subscribing to good industry newsletters or listening to, shows like this one. You're essentially learning from the journeys of others. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
That collective wisdom idea is powerful. Okay, final lesson, number 8. It comes from that classic Miyagi quote, "Man who catch fly with chopstick accomplish anything."
Yeah, that one's great. It wasn't just about being nimble, right? It was about focus, yes, but also resourcefulness. Creative problem solving.
And landlording definitely requires that sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. You will face the unexpected, the plumbing disaster on Christmas Eve, the tenant who reports a ghost, the squirrel that gets into the attic. Weird stuff happens.
True.
You need to be able to stay cool, focus on the actual problem, and think creatively, resourcefully to find a solution, often when you're under pressure.
So how do you become that man who can catch a fly with chopsticks when, say, the main water line breaks?
Well, having systems helps you stay calm enough to be creative. Create an emergency playbook. What are the first steps for common disasters? Who do you call?
Right, having a plan.
And build a network of reliable contractors before you're desperate. Having that plumber or electrician you trust on speed dial is huge.
Definitely.
And the most Miyagi-like advice here, pause before you react. Take a breath. Don't panic. Often, the best solution appears when you give your brain a second to think clearly, not just react.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. The article asks, is this Karate Kid comparison just like a fun hook, or is there real value in it for landlords?
I think it's incredibly helpful, actually. Using a story everyone kind of knows, like the Karate Kid, makes these complex ideas about discipline and balance really
sticky.
Memorable.
Yeah, it's not just a dry list of rules, it's a whole philosophy.
Exactly. Miyagi's core principles, that patience, the structure, building strong foundations, thinking long-term, seeking balance, these really are the bedrock of good, sustainable landlording. It gives you a framework that just sort of clicks,
It really does put a different spin on things. Makes you realize landlording isn't just managing bricks and mortar.
No, it's managing relationships, building good systems, and really cultivating the right mindset within yourself.
It's about finding your own balance, just like Miyagi taught Daniel, that internal focus. And the source wraps it up so well, quoting Miyagi again. First, learn stand, then learn fly.
That really says it all, doesn't it? Stay balanced. Focus on those fundamentals. And don't underestimate the power of just consistent, disciplined effort, like that wax on, wax off.
That's how you get things done. How you become a really successful landlord.
Exactly.
Fantastic insights today, drawn from a really fun source. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this exploration of the keys to success.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Keys to Success. I invite you to check out past episodes and follow us on your favorite podcast platform to get notified when new ones are released. And when you're ready to simplify managing your properties, be sure to visit us at www.payrent.com.